Hi everyone, Steve Dawson here with another installment of 5-minute Hawaiian guitar micro lessons. They're turning into more like 7 minutes, maybe even 8 minutes, but whatever, we'll see what happens. Before we get going, I'll answer a couple questions. There wasn't a ton of specific questions this week, a lot of really nice comments, people seem to be enjoying it, so thanks for that. There were a couple questions about string gauges, and I've talked about this before, but I would just suggest to experiment. With a tricone, it's important to get the gauge right because the tone really changes as your string gauges change, and you need to have enough tension on the guitar to hold the cones in place. So down here on the bridge is where the bar is that keeps the pressure on the tricones or on the three cones, and if it's not enough, things get loose and rattly, and if it's too much, you can actually damage the cones. But you can also just kind of muffle and kill the tone of the instrument. So you have to find a good balance. For me, I've got a 59 on my low string. Again, I'm tuned to low bass G. That's what I use about 75% of the time. So I've got a 59, 49, 39, 26. I'm probably an 18 and a 16. I change mine all the time too. I try different things, so I don't have a set way of doing it. But yeah, 16 down to 59 seems to work for me. On my Weissenborn, which I play a lot, I don't play my Weissenborn a lot in Hawaiian music, but when I'm playing sessions and doing other work, I play the Weissenborn a lot, and I use 16 down to 59s on that as well. But I'm tuned down to a low C on that, and I will give you this little tale of warning. When I was playing the Winnipeg Folk Festival maybe 20 years ago, it was really hot, like really hot, and the sun was right in our grills. And man, I saw it coming, but I was playing. I was in a group called Zubot and Dawson at the time, and we were playing instrumental music. I was playing the Weissenborn, and man, I saw the glue. I saw it like liquefy as I was playing, and in the middle of a song, the bridge it imploded basically, and the bridge went flying across the stage, and the guitar basically fell apart. It's still the guitar that I use to this day. It did get fixed, but that happened. Probably because I had too heavy strings on, and it was terrifying, and also made for quite a dramatic song ending, as you can imagine. That's all I have to say. Somebody else made a comment about flat wounds, and again, that's a tonal thing. I like the growl of round wound strings. There's a thing that happens, this whole scratchy thing. That's me just scratching the round wound strings. I like that. So I don't want that gone from my tone, so I keep round wound strings on pretty much all my guitars except my lap steel, which is this guy here. And maybe we'll get into some of that at some point, but I've got flat wounds on this right now. Maybe I'll change them back. I don't know. Okay, so I think that answers all the questions. If you have any other questions, let me know. If you want me to talk about any particular subject when I'm teaching these lessons, if there's something you'd like me to touch on, just leave a comment and I'll get into it. All right, so let's get down to some music. Okay, so the biggest thing about most of these Hawaiian tunes that I'm touching on is the chord changes are fast and furious. I'm going to show you a bit about a way to approach chord changes this week in the context of a classic Hawaiian waltz called Akaka Falls. It's in the key of E. The chord changes are really simple, and usually with a lot of these tunes, the chord changes are not simple. They're crazy and they're fast, and that's not the case with this tune. This tune has lots of space, the chord changes are slow, and they're simple. There's the 1 chord, which is E, the 4 chord, which is A, and the 5 chord, which is B. And what I want to show you is I'm going to emphasize the chord change going from B, which is the 5 chord, to the 1 chord, E. So the chords, just so you've got them, are E at the 9th fret, B, which is at the 4th fret, and A, which is at the 2nd fret. We're going to throw the A out the window for now because most of the tune happens between B and E. So this is a waltz, which means you're counting in 3 instead of 4. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. That's a waltz, okay? So the chord changes, the song starts on the B actually, on the 5 chord, and the chord changes just go B, That's the first half of the tune, and that's all we're going to focus on right now. So that's the 5 chord to the 1 chord. But it's not super hip that way because it's just a triad, and we want to hear a 7th or a 9th chord there. And so there's ways to play those chords without playing the full chord. First of all, let me show you the melody, which is a nice little melody, and I'll show it to you in a sec. But it goes like this: 1, 2, 3, 1. So that's kind of the gist of the tune. So first of all, the chord change going from B to E is the most important one in the first half of the song. Now, what we did here was just change between, when we're doing the chords, we're just changing between the 4th fret and the 9th fret. However, what you want to hear there is a B7 chord. And so to get that B7 chord, I've talked about this before, but you take the top 2 strings only, not a full chord, just the top 2 strings, and move up 3 frets from the chord you're at, and that becomes the 7th chord. So, there's your B chord. 3 frets up from there on the top 2 strings is a B7 chord. It's not the full chord, but it's enough of the chord to go, oh, that's what's happening. B, B7. Now that is at the 7th fret, and that's conveniently close to the 9th fret, which is where the E chord is. Okay, so there's your way to navigate that part 1, which is B. Let's do that a couple times. B, B, B7. So that gets us from B7 to E. Now there's another kind of cool way to do it, which is going also from that 4th fret, but now just take the 2nd and 3rd strings only and go chromatically down to the 2nd fret. And that also implies a B7 chord. However, we're not very close to that 9th fret to resolve this to the E. So another way to resolve it to the E is just playing the E note, which is also at the 2nd fret. So now we've got B, B7, E. Now you want to make sure that you angle the slide up on that last note when you hit that E, so that you're not hearing a big old fat A chord, because that's not what's happening. We're hearing B, B7 to E. So all you want to hear is that single E note. Now here's a great position to know in all Hawaiian music. Top string, there's the 1. Move up 2 frets, you've got the 2 of the scale. Move up another fret, you've got the flat 3. And move up 1 more fret and you've got the major 3rd. Now I'm going to use that little run to get back to my E chord at the 9th fret. So check that out. We've got B, B7 to the E, that a few times. Go up to the B7. More. That's another way to do it, is going from the E chord at the 9th fret, chromatically, down to the 7th fret, and start with the implied B7 chord. So we've got E, and then go to the B chord, and then the other B7 to the E. All right, so that's how to get around from the B chord to the E chord change. So in this song, Akaka Falls, that happens twice. It goes B, B7, E. B, B7, E. Let me play that whole thing for you. That's the first half. 1, 2, 3. All right, so that's how to get through the chord changes. That's not the melody. The melody is cool, and it goes like this. That's a neat little slide. There's a lot of cool things that are in the key of E, and I mentioned before that in Hawaiian music, even though we're tuned to G, it's very rare that you actually play in the key of G. So this one's in E, and it has some cool E stuff in it. Slide up on the 3rd string to the 4th fret, followed by the 2nd string open. So you're kind of doubling that note. Then hit that top of that B7 chord, which is at the 7th fret. Then we're going to kind of hit a B6 chord by going down to the 6th fret. There's your melody. Then jump down to the B chord. And that just runs down 1st string, 2nd string, 3rd string. And then go down to the 2nd fret. And that melody comes straight from the B7 chord. So that's the first bit. And the resolve is back at the 4th fret, back up the B chord, and then to the root note of the E chord for the chord change. Yeah. And there's a little turnaround there that goes. So that's like a E sus chord to E. So that's 2nd fret, 3rd and 2nd string, and then 1st fret only of the 3rd string and open 2nd string. So the whole thing goes. Just repeat that. Now when you get to the E note the 2nd time, then go up that little run that I showed you. Yeah, and then we're going to hit an E7 chord, which you can get the same as the B7 by just taking the top 2 strings and going up 3 frets. And that's going to lead us to the 14th fret, which is where the A chord is. We're going to spend a bar up at the A chord before going back to the E chord. There's a little lick here that goes, and that's just top string on the 9th fret, 11th fret, back to 9th, 9th fret of the 2nd string, and then you go back to the first phrase. Alright, so that's the whole tune. Okay, so the things to remember about this tune are the chord changes, which just go B, B7, E, E. Again, B, B7, E, E. Then A, E, E. B, B7, E, E. That's the whole song. Easy. Also remember it's in 3/4, it's a waltz, and also remember it starts on the 5 chord. It starts on that B, which is a little slightly unusual. Alright, so here's the track, and have fun with it. I hope you enjoy. Here we go from the B.